Hi, everybody. It's Mike from Here the Watchmen. And here we are, the day after the Alabama elections. And we've got with us today Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer, a dear brother of mine, has been at every Here the Watchmen conference that we've done. Just a trooper out there for Jesus, but he's also stands up for what's right. And he did a wonderful job last night on the show. If you get a chance, check it out. He's in the first, I think, half hour. Just Google the Hagman Report. And now we're having him back here this morning to talk about where do we go from here. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Mike. Always a pleasure to be with you, buddy. I do appreciate it. I even talked about that on, Mike, I have my own show. I do 5 days a week, 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's probably, I assume, 4 o'clock your time. We do it live. We archive it. And I kind of dissected that thing already on my show. So if people want to get an hour-long version of what we're going to talk about here today, they can go to CoachDaveLive.com, CoachDaveLive.com. It's archived there. It's all free. And one of the points I tried to make this morning, Mike, is it's not the end of the world, and that all the griping and moaning and complaining I hear from people, they're mad at Mitch McConnell, and they're mad at Trump, and they're mad at the Democrats, and they're mad at all those women who lied, and they're mad at everybody except who they should be mad at, Mike. And really, the defeat of Judge Roy Moore last night happened because of the church, because of what I call the evangelifish, the church people without a backbone, or what my buddy Pastor Matt Tuoela calls the pietistic Christians, the Christians who think they're holier than thou and believe in following the letter of the law and don't understand the spirit of the law and understand what Christ himself called the law written on the heart. He said I was no longer going to write him. They said, Lord, what's the greatest commandment? He said, well, I'm no longer going to write it on the stony tablets of men's on stony tablets, but I'm going to write it on the tablets of men's hearts. And it's an understanding of this, Mike, that the law is necessary and the law is good, but the law is an ass. Now, Jesus didn't say that. Some legal scholar said that. The law by itself is an ass. Church. What I saw happen last, I hope that wouldn't happen, Mike, but I saw that Christians, stay with me here, Mike, evangelifish Christians, I call them, somehow in their mind last night, they false accusation. We don't know. An accusation, it might be true. An accusation, 40-year-old accusation against Judge Roy Moore, a woman or whatever, abusing a woman. Somehow, Mike, they equated in their mind that 40-year-old accusation against Judge Moore with the slaughter of unborn children. When it came to their time to go into the voting booth, they were so holier than thou that they couldn't look at a 40-year. Did he do that to women? Did he do that to some girl 40 years? I can't vote for him. I'm going to vote for this guy who's going to kill babies up till the point of birth. I'm going to go for this guy who believes in homosexual marriage, this guy who believes in I'm going to go with this guy who believes in every unbiblical thing that you could possibly come up with. Because Judge Roy Moore might have done something to a girl 40 years ago, I'm going to not vote for him, and I'm going to allow a brutal baby killer to be elevated. That's what we saw, Mike. Jesus called it straining at a gnat. Get out of here, my dog's sneaking over here. Straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel. Jesus said you ignore the weightier matters of the law, and these unproven allegations against Judge Roy Moore permitted the state of Alabama, the first time in 22 years, to vote a Democrat into office who has openly said he's for the slaughter of unborn children up until the moment of birth. Mike, I don't, I'm not mad at the pro-aborts. I'm not mad at the God haters. I'm mad at the church. I'm mad at the evangelifish church, and specifically the pulpits, the pietistic Christians who think that somehow they're holier than God. than judge mourn without sin. So that's where I came down on it. I said last night before the show, when I was on Doug and Joe's show, I said basically the same thing, that the letter of the law kills, Mike. The letter of the law kills. And if we expect, see, rules for radical number 4 was to make the opposition live up to their own standards. And I saw Christians who said, well, if he won't be honest about this, then he's not an honest man, despite 40-year track record. So it's our fault. It's the jellyfish's fault. We're the one. I don't know if you saw this, Mike. 22,000 people wrote in a candidate. Now, I would assume that's probably, for the most part, Republican voters. 22,000 wrote in a candidate. And I saw that Trump said today that it's too bad that they didn't have a more qualified or better candidate or something like that. Mike, we're screwed up, man. We got everything upside down. Donald Trump. People didn't want Donald Trump in office because he wasn't righteous enough. Judge Roy Moore is everything Donald Trump was not. A righteous man with a 40-year track. Well, I don't know what to say. I do know what to say.
You know, it's tough, Coach. I mean, you know, certainly you've heard my testimony. I have a past. I get judged over it all the time.
Me too.
And it comes from the people who, like you said, are so righteous. But let's look at where we've gone in this country. You know, Jeannie and I did a toffee show, it was called the Cheerleader Show. It's at the local high school, and all the people up here in the mountains come together, and everybody that makes handmade goods gets little tables, and it's a holiday bazaar, and the money goes to support the cheerleaders for the local school. Now, at that event, they serve, you know, the cheerleaders' moms bring in crock pot food, you know, I mean, it's like church lady food. And you all sit around at tables. There's in the little, like their cafeteria area there, and you can have a bowl of chili or whatever. Now, if I was sitting at one of those tables, enjoying my bowl of chili, and one of those cheerleaders sat down at the table to have a bowl of chili, and the two of us began a conversation with one another, then if someone looked at that, they could accuse me of trying to pick up a 16-year-old girl. That's where we've gone in this country. And where does that come from, Coach?
Well, Mike, even worse than that, if you took that 16-year-old girl to get an abortion, you would be a hero. You would be a hero, would you not?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's the sickness. Yeah.
Yeah, so you ask where it comes from, brother. It comes from the fact that we talked about this on my show today as well, Mike, that the 2 Thessalonians said that because we have rejected truth, and let's be honest, we've rejected truth, that the Lord himself would send a strong delusion that they would believe a lie. It talks about in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10, 11. Don't get me in some trouble, probably. It warns us about silly women laden with sin. Silly women laden with sin. I saw the most staggering statistic this morning, Mike. There are a lot of staggering statistics. 96% of black men in Alabama voted for the opponent. 95% of black women voted for the opponent. You ready, Mike? 62% of white women, only 62% voted for Judge Moore. That means there's 38% of women who heard the accusations of sexual harassment, whatever it was, and they could not get beyond that when they went to the ballot box. See, we strain at a gnat and we swallow a camel. And it's because in today's modern Christianity, we view all sins as equal. And we don't look at the consequence, Mike, of the danger of some sins over others. And let us never forget this, that when God wrote the 10 Commandments, he wrote them for our protection. He said, thou shalt not steal, because he wanted to protect the person who was going to be stolen from. He said, thou shalt not commit adultery, because he wanted to protect the person who was going to be injured as a result of the adultery. He says, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, because he wanted to protect the one who the lie or the false witness was going to hurt. Everything the Lord puts into place, he puts in as our protection. But that's why he said, that's why Jesus said, I've written it on your hearts now. It's now the law written on the heart. And I used the example last night that we're playing, Mike, Christians are playing on a unlevel playing field. Meaning this, the left is allowed to lie, they're allowed to connive, they're allowed to steal, they're allowed to do whatever they want to. And Saul Alinsky's fourth rules make us to live up to our own standards. So it was our own people who would not vote for Judge Moore because they wanted him to live up to that same standard. And Judge Moore was trying to infiltrate enemy-held territory in an ungodly political system, which at one time had been godly, but it's not godly anymore. And so if Judge Roy Moore was going to get in there, he was going to have to figure out a way to wiggle in there. And isn't it amazing? Those on our own team outed him. Said, if he's not going to come clean, then I can't vote for him. It's Mike, it's like a guy in a football game. Go ahead.
No, I mean, it's interesting. I think it was InfoWars reported when Trump was running in the state of Alabama, over a million, let's just say, I think it's 1.2 million Republicans came out to vote for him, and 600,000 Democrats came out to vote for that person that was running against him. I can't even mention her name. And in yesterday's election, 600,000 Republicans came out and 600,000 Democrats came out.
So there's 600,000 missing somewhere, huh?
Yeah. Where'd they go? What happened? Were their heads buried in the sand? I mean, and if you look at what's going on, it's no longer. You mentioned on the Hagman Report last night how politicians used to be honest and men of their word, and you and I can both agree that's long gone. I mean, it's just not the way it operates in American politics anymore. But you know, it's just interesting to me to see that everybody runs around out there now saying like, well, he lied. He didn't tell the truth about something that happened 40 years ago. Let me put it to you this way, Coach. I can't even remember the stuff that I did 40 years ago to begin with. Yeah. And number two, why do I have to tell anyone about it? It's between myself and God. And
that's right.
You made a wonderful analogy of like if you came downstairs and there was a burglar in your house with a gun, and the burglar asked that, you know, is there anyone else in your house? And your wife is down in the basement hiding. Are you supposed to look at that burglar and say, well, I can't tell a lie. My wife's downstairs hiding in the basement. I mean, this is craziness that we're going through. It doesn't even make sense, does it?
It doesn't even make sense, Mike. And that's the confusion that we see in the evangelifish world. I hate to say it. That's the confusion we see. I know a lot of people who are rejoicing today because Judge Moore didn't win because they think he didn't come clean, right? They didn't give him, Mike, they couldn't see the bigger picture. Let me bring it home here. Let me make it really real. A lot of football fans out there. A lot of football fans. If your favorite football team, mine's the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are playing against Michigan or playing against Alabama, whoever they're playing against. And let's say I'm coaching the team, Mike, and our tight end, it's 4th and 1, the game's on the line, and we run a sweep, and I'm the coach. I'm on the sideline, and I look out, and I notice that our tight end is holding. And we score the touchdown, and we win. Do I call timeout and go to the referee and say, Mr. Referee, I'm sorry, our tight end was holding. We can't accept this touchdown. Now, Mike, if the coach were to do that, every one of these pietistic Christians who are rooting for the Buckeyes would be unbelievably ticked off at him. Why? Because it's the job of the referee to call the penalty. We're not supposed to call the penalties on ourselves. Can't we see this, right? And so in the world of politics, Jesus said to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. He said the children of darkness in this age are smarter than the children of the light. And we saw it play out last night. Mike, that was amazing. 600,000 people didn't. The vote was 600,000 down. Does that tell you, buddy, that the most powerful thing going in America is the television set? Because they sat in front of those TV sets and watched all those lies, and their emotions got the better of them.
Well, but I think you bring up an interesting point in the times within the church that we're in right now, and that is, you look at the way they judged Roy Moore. You look at the way, you look at anybody that's out there and doing stuff, and you see them get taken down because somebody makes an allegation against them of sexual harassment or something like that. But nobody says anything about the abortion clinics. No one says anything about, some of this other heinous stuff that goes on out there. I mean, they're just focused right now all on this, sexual abuse.
They're confused. They're confused, Mike. The same people who tell me regularly, okay, you are not the judge. Christians are not the judge. Those same people judged Roy Moore. They made a judgment on Roy Moore. Those exact same people, Mike. It's like, again, it's a strong delusion, is what it says in the book of 2 Thessalonians too. That God Himself would send a strong delusion that they would believe a lie. So here's where I am with it. I lost a lot of games, Mike, in my coaching days. I think I won 136, and I think I lost 99. That's what I think it was. Tied one. So I got up a lot of mornings after a loss and didn't feel very good. But I always knew that there's another game next week. So what we have to do, we have got to figure out where we are. Understand now that the weapon that our enemy is going to use is going to be sex. It's going to be sex, Mike. It's going to be sexual accusations, harassment accusations. They saw that it worked. Not only did they see that it worked, they saw that it worked in the Bible Belt, brother. So we are going to see that will be the weapon of choice now. So here you ask yourself, Mike Kerr, Coach Dave, why would I ever run for office? Why would I ever run for office if this is what they're going to do to me and my family? You understand, Mike? And so who ends up running for office? The scumbags, because our team doesn't play like that, see? Again, what did I say? Different set of rules. We play by one set of rules. The left plays by another set of rules. And we wonder why the devil's kids are running right down our throat. And they are, brother. They are.
Yeah, it's really something else, Coach. I mean, and unfortunately, now it looks like you're going to have to be down in Alabama in front of the abortion clinics, and doing your thing there. You're going to be back on the streets, and it's sad. Well, listen, Coach,
it doesn't stop the thing we're going to do, right? I'm just going to up my ante. I'm just going to work harder and harder. And again, I just say to people, it just shows you what's going on. Now we know how they play. Let's get ready. Let's go play. But Mike, for some reason, we can't wait to get raptured out of here, and somebody else is going to have to deal with it. The Christian world is a mess, brother. It's a mess.
But you just brought up a wonderful point, Coach. Now we know their plays. When you're playing football, what do you do before you play? Before you actually show up at the game, you watch the tapes. You watch the way your opponent plays, how they run their plays. I mean, right. And that's where we're at right now. I mean,
So the devil's off laughing right now. He and his head coach's assistant, they're off laughing at how they pulled this one off on us. Can you imagine it, Mike? Can you imagine how those minions are chuckling about how we fooled those stinking Christians again? Unbelievable. They didn't come out and vote for our guy, but we sure kept them for voting for a guy who, as I said, was everything Donald Trump was not. A righteous man with a 40-year track history of being righteous and standing for the Lord and mentioning the name of Jesus and all of that stuff, Mike. And he wasn't holy enough for some of the Christian brethren we have. It's sickening, despicable.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, let's look at what we do really from here, Coach. We need training. You know, our team needs training, and let's talk about how they're going to get that training. We have Iron Sharpens Iron, the Hear the Watchman conference that you will be at speaking in Dallas, Texas, March 22nd through the 25th, 2018. Henry Groover will be there, Dr. Michael Lake, L.A. Marzulli, Pastor Carl Gallups, Messianic Rabbi Zev Parat, just a whole host, Michael Boldea, a whole host of men and women. You're going to have Mary Colbert. She's on fire. If you've never heard Mary Colbert, she is on fire. Mark Taylor. The list goes on. And then we have intensive workshops there where people can actually get trained on what to do. Now, following that, in April, we have Occupy 2018. Talk to us about that conference.
Well, yeah, Mike, as you know, I feel so honored to be part of the conferences when you and Jeannie put them on, and humbled to be part of it. But my big complaint has been and continues to be, okay, boys, we have to take it to the field. We just can't get the scouting report here. We have to take it to the field. So we're having a conference with a lot of the same people: Russ Dizdar, L.A. Marzulli, Paul Begley is going to be with us. A new one, Bill Federer. I don't know if you know William J. Federer of American Minute. He's going to be with us. I'm leaving some names out. All the Hagmans are going to be with us, and John Robertson is going to be with us. And we want to inform people, Mike, but we want to give them some practical things to do when they leave there. That's why Jesus said, "Occupy till I return." And I said, if we're just going to have head knowledge, if all we're doing is going to come to these conferences to learn more about what the devil's doing and not do anything to combat it, well, for the most part, we're wasting our time. So our event, you can find it at CoachDaveLive.com. Our event is to try to give people tools that they can take with them when they leave the conference. Not that you guys don't, Mike, but you know that's what I do. That's what I do, put a team on the field. And so we want to train, equip, and mobilize those people who we think are awake and show them what they need to be able to do.
Well, amen to that, brother. I mean, that's been one of our big challenges, and one of my big complaints is, you know, I see you go to conferences all over the country and you see the same people that, you know, they're over and over and over again. And then what are you doing between the conferences? And that's the important thing. Well, listen, Coach, I really want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Jeannie and I are certainly looking forward to seeing you at the conference in March. And I want to remind folks, Jeannie's toffee, there's some of it.
And then, I just got some of that stuff, buddy. It's good stuff.
And then there's the gift tin. You only have a couple more days to order it. Go to honesttogoodnesstoffee.com. We can get it to you by Christmas. The proceeds from that candy, folks, go to help Hear the Watchman continue the ministry that we've been called upon to do and to take across the country. And so please, if you want a nice gift, Coach ate some. It's amazing stuff.
I'm watching my weight, Mike.
Yeah, I watch mine all the time. It goes up and down and up and down. You know? So, but anyway, listen, we're out of time today, and I just want to thank you for everything that you do out there in service of Jesus, and you know, folks, I got to say, and I'm just going to say something right now. What we all do is not easy. And people tend to think, oh, you do a YouTube show and you do conferences, and they look at Coach and, oh, you know, he goes down and helps the hurricane victims and all that. You know, la da 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 da. How much fun is that? No, it's not always fun, but we've been called upon to do something. And that's what we ask all of you. Listen to what the call is and then actually do it. As I always say on our show, Coach, you know, with Jesus in your heart, There's nothing that you can't do, except nothing at all. So let's get busy, folks.
Hey, Mike, it's like that great theologian, Woody Hayes, the former football coach at Ohio State, said he never saw a football player make a tackle with a smile on his face. So we're going to have to come to the realization that we're at war, quit smiling our way through it, brother, tighten our belt, and earn our meal money. So God bless you guys, you and Jeannie, and thanks for having me on this morning.
God bless you too, and Merry Christmas to you, Coach. I'm going to go ahead and say the word Merry Christmas. You know, I mean, I'm sure I'll get a bunch of hate mail, you know, but whatever.
It's all good.
It's all good. So anyway, folks, listen, we'll be back again with another edition of the Watchman's Report. We're going to do some neat stuff next week regarding Christmas, and coming up with some of our guests, where we're going to bring them on and have them give you something to take into the Christmas and the New Year's, and to move forward. So God bless each and every one of you. We'll see you next time here on the Watchman's Report.